We live in a twilight world, and there are no friends at dusk. This is not too far from where I live. I now live in the southwest of England, and yeah, man, I really like it around here. I'm about 40 minutes away from the beach. I'm in the countryside where I live, so I can get hold of, eggs straight from the farm. I can get hold of raw milk, all that good stuff, man. Leaving London is one of the best things I ever did. I mean, I left London I was about 28. And it was hard, man. It was hard. Like, just upping and leaving London, because obviously all my connections and networks were in London. So it was hard to start again. And it was a hard year, the first year. But in the long run, it's one of the best things I ever did. I spent pretty much all of my life thinking I wanted to leave this country altogether, basing my whole experience of the UK, basing it upon what it was like in London. And, once you get out of London, once you get out of the big cities in the UK, it's actually pretty chill, and it's a nice place, man. And during the 2020 lockdowns, I really got the opportunity to go and explore the British Isles, man, I went to South Wales, North Wales, I went to the Highlands of Scotland, all of the north of England, And yeah, man, I fell in love with Britain. We have got a good country here. Once you get away from them cities, I mean, yeah, it's a police state, but the police are mainly, controlling and monitoring the cities. Once you get out, yeah, man, it's a lot more carefree out here. I mean, we've basically got a local police station around here, and I just drove past a policeman. He's just a policeman on a bike. It's a proper little one-horse town, and I like it, man. I like it. So today I want to talk about the multiverse, or the concept of the multiverse. I'm sure you guys are aware of it, because it's pretty much everywhere at the moment. Over the last couple of years, it's been coming out in all these films, mainly the Marvel films and the superhero films. But yeah, it's the concept that there are infinite universes with infinite versions of us, of you, of me. There's a version of you where you're a doctor. There's a version of you where you're a female. There's a version of you where you become the president. There's a version of you where you're the bad guy. There's a version of you where you're a homeless guy. Yeah, that's the concept. Now, I don't know if I'm that much into the concept. I don't know. It's one of them things, I can't really disprove it. I can't really prove it. I think there's something to it, but I don't think there's I don't know. I struggle with the idea of an infinite amount of universes. That just seems a bit nuts to me, but it could be true. I don't know. A lot of these, quantum mechanics scientists think it's, they go with it, They're very much for it. They believe it's there, But yeah, lately it's pretty much everywhere. I mean, I went and saw this film the other night, Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness. Not the greatest of films, a bit of a weak thrown together film, as they mostly are these days. But yeah, another film of the multiverse. Now, some say it's as drastic as, like if today you wake up and you have, I don't know, a cappuccino instead of a latte, you're going to create a whole new timeline and a whole new universe. I don't know about that one. I struggle with that one. But here's where I'm at with it. We have to look at time. We're going to go back to our old friend Time, Father Time. And we have to realise that time is not what we think it is. It's not. We have to change the way we look at time, is what I'm getting at. And reincarnation as well. We assume that reincarnation can only happen once we die. What if time could go in all directions and we can actually reincarnate multiple times in multiple directions. Because I've noticed after going to Odessa that, you know, I saw my doppelganger. I've seen quite a few of my doppelgangers around. I keep seeing more and more versions of me that are slightly different. They're a version of me, but just a different type of me. Now, another thing that we've always kind of, or I've always kind of played around with, is the idea that there's only X amount of real ones, what we call real ones, here in this reality. Let's, for the sake of this argument, or for the sake of this conversation, say there's only, we use one of the fancy numbers that they use all the time, like 33. Let's say there's actually only 33 real ones here in this reality. But we've been cloned and reincarnated many times, but we can only jump in one body at a time, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't make sense because I'm not explaining it very well, but bear with me. So, for example, that doppelganger I saw in Odessa of me, that's me reincarnated in the flesh, but my soul is in my body right now. And who knows, maybe at some point my soul can jump into his flesh body. And right now he's an NPC, but until I jump in to his body, he will just be a background character NPC. Now, I'm sure you guys have done it. I'm sure you guys have walked around the streets and seen someone who looks like you, or someone's probably come up to you and said, "Hey, I met I saw a guy in the cafe today. He was a spitting image of you." And yeah, that probably is you. That's probably a reincarnation of you. Does this make sense what I'm saying, guys? I hope it does. So unless there's a soul, so let me put it like this. Maybe there's only 33 sentient souls out there, which is all us guys that are connecting right now. But because we're reincarnating in this flesh body right now with our soul, the other versions of us that are reincarnated or have been cloned in the simulation are just NPCs that don't really have an inner flame inside them, you know? So, yeah, that's a bit of a wild one. I mean, I'm going to be speaking to Nish again soon. If those of you who don't know who Nish is, she's just a social commentator, but like a really deep thinker. She's got her podcast, the Cosmic Salon, which I recommend everyone checks out. But I've done a podcast with her, which is definitely worth checking out. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to be talking to her soon and running these ideas past her, which is going to be really great. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a quick story, okay? And I'm going to use the Adjustment Bureau as kind of like a baseline. If you guys haven't seen the Adjustment Bureau, it's quite a good film to watch. It's based on a book called The Adjustment Team, which is a Philip K. Dick book. And it's essentially a bunch of... well, they look like... They're not quite Men in Black. They are Men in Black, kind of. They're referred to as angels sometimes. But the Adjustment Team is a bunch of behind-the-scenes entities that make sure you stay on your correct timeline. So I'm going to ruin the film for you here if you haven't seen it. But they've got plans for the Matt Damon character to be the president. And they know that if he meets this girl and falls in love with the girl, he bins off that whole idea of being a president, and he goes and, he's in love. He goes and has a relationship with this woman instead. So they are constantly trying to keep him and his woman apart. And they could do stuff like, give you a flat tire, make the traffic lights turn red, all these little things just to stop you crossing paths with a certain someone and keeping on the path they want you to stay on. It's a very good film. I like it. But yeah, I'll tie that into my life. So I was back working at the hospital maybe in 2020. Now this was a different. I started working at a different hospital because I'd moved away from one area into another. Same job, but different hospital. At the same time, a new HCA, a healthcare assistant, started. Very attractive, and there was a bit of a kind of chemistry between me and her, where we was often on the same shifts, and we just had that little connection that we started at the same time. And I didn't notice at the time, but she was doing stuff like having her breaks at the same time as me and sitting at my table in the canteen and all this kind of stuff. And equally, I was like debating, like, shall I ask for a number? Should I be that kind of guy at work? I don't know. Yes, no, yes, no. And then I thought, well, I've done what I always do with girls. I just play it so cool, I pretend I'm not interested. So I didn't do anything. Now, I ended up losing my security badge because I got in trouble with the law. And when it came to renewing the badge, it just took forever to give it to me because I was in trouble with the law. So I ended up not being at that hospital for a while. And I went back, something like 6 months later. And my first shift, she seen me and I heard her say in the corridor, "Oh, he's back. Les is back. Oh, I really liked him, And I heard like one of her girlfriends at work say, ask his number. She's like, "No, I can't. I'm seeing someone now." And I'm listening to this thinking, shit, man. That was wifey right there, If we would have went on that date, who knows? The point I'm trying to make is, if me and her would have went on that date, who knows what would have happened, right? We may have had a lockdown baby. We may have got married. We may have fallen in love and lived happily ever after. Either way, I would not have gone down the path of going to Ukraine and being on the path of where I am now. You see what I'm saying? So right there, that would have been a different... If I would have got with her, that would have been a different timeline. I'd have probably never even gone on Twitter. I probably would have never met Rambo and Human Vibration. I would have probably never done any of this social media weird thing I'm doing, It really is like that. It really is a case of you could meet a girl and that could change everything. Or you could meet a guy, whoever you are listening to this, You could meet your love of your life and be taken on a different path. So yeah. As annoying at the time, it was like, when I heard her say, "Oh, I really liked him," and it's like, fuck, man. But at the same time, I think, man, I was needed in the universe somewhere else to do bigger things, Now, was that the Adjustment Bureau at play? Did the Adjustment Bureau step in and purposely make the bureaucracy of renewing my security badge really difficult? Maybe. Who knows, it's possible. But yeah, the multiverse, it's a very interesting concept. It's one of them things, I don't know, it's worth discussing amongst ourselves and comparing notes and whatnot. I guess it doesn't really matter until you know until you can jump into a different universe, or until that universe crosses paths with you. And maybe it already has. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's when these multiple universes somehow collide with each other is when you're going to start having weird and wild and wacky events happening in the world. Now, not being funny, we have been kind of having weird, wacky, wild events happening. And this could be why they want to lock us down all the time. Who knows what gadgets, tools and magic they have. Maybe they are, because we still don't know if these secret unknowns at the top of the pyramid are good or bad. I mean, most people in the conspiracy world assume that they're bad and that they're feeding off us and they've got us on a prison planet, but we don't really know. Maybe they're doing that for a reason. Maybe all of these psyops and all this terror they present to us, constant living in doom, is not for us guys that have got how they live glasses on. Maybe it's all for the NPCs. Maybe it keeps the NPCs in check. Maybe whatever's happened with these NPCs and these normies, like they've got out of hand in their numbers or whatever, maybe these secret unknowns are doing their best, to keep them in check, keep them busy, keep them on some kind of hamster wheel so they don't start, I don't know, killing and raping everyone or something. Who knows? Anyway, that's all I'm saying for now. We live in a twilight world. There are no friends at dusk.